RPGs are long, and they need to be quick in reeling in the player to a 20, 40, 60, 80, sometimes even 100-hour long adventure. Especially as an adult, we need to know if this game is worth it or not. If it isn't, I'm sure we have a whole backlog of games that would capture our attention in no time flat. It's hard to give an exact time frame of when the player needs to be hooked, because it varies from game to game. Some games take a moment to lay down the groundwork for the adventure, and other games, you're right in. Fair warning, there are spoilers throughout this entire video, but I linked timestamps in the description below, so make sure you check those out if you don't want to be spoiled. Capiche? I'm your host, Lady Pelvic of Pelvic Gaming, talking about my top 5 favorite RPG hooks. Number 5. I don't know why, but I like being tricked. Thinking this and it's actually that. I believe it wakes the player up. Too many times have I started a game and you go through the motions of walk, run, jump, pick up, etc. When a game says, gotcha, just kidding, I feel more alert and slightly angry that the game tricked me right off the bat. In Undertale, you fall down a hole, enter a door, and the game has begun. The first character you meet is a happy little flower. Flowey introduces himself and teaches you how things work in the underground. When teaching, it's best to make your lessons memorable. He encourages the player to gain LV, or love, and how to do that is by collecting friendliness pellets. And sure enough, this being my first ever bullet hell game, got 'em all, and watching my HP instantly drop to 1, and Flowey's face twist into an evil smile. That interaction set the stage to the tone of Undertale, very tongue-in-cheek, and a great way to get the player to focus on other tricks and traps going forward. Number 4. A slower burn, when a game takes its time building up their characters and their relationship to one another. In such a short time, there's something magical about relating and loving a character at first sight. But usually, that's an ill-boding sign that something terrible is about to happen to them. Why else take the time to meticulously craft a warm bond between characters? To tear them apart? Duh. Xenoblade Chronicles might not be the most instant startup, but it does a great job in tricking the player into believing they've known these cast of characters for years. The first time you meet Shulk's friends, Ryan and Fiora, you instantly feel like a part of the gang, as they've been your friends as long as they've been Shulk's. And watching the available heart-to-hearts that expand on our cast relationships felt great. I'm a real big sucker for peaceful, cozy beginnings, because I know doom and gloom is just around the corner. I enjoy when comfort turns into chaos. Shulk and friends go collect ether cylinders from a nearby mine, and just as they're leaving, their home is attacked by Mechon, machine life forms that have been a constant thorn in their side. You're forced to watch Mechon destroy Colony 9, slaughtering everything in their wake as you are without means of effectively and efficiently harming them. Soon, Shulk becomes the wielder of the legendary blade, the Minato, which slices through Mechon like butter. And just when there is a glimmer of hope, a unique Mechon known as Metal Face emerges. The Minato has no effect. Fiora, Shulk's obvious love interest, hops into weaponry and boldly charges into a losing battle. Her attacks have little effect, and when Metal Face retaliates, her life comes to an end. This is the catalyst for Shulk's quest for vengeance. This was an incredibly powerful scene because of the steady and genuine bond between player and character. Plus, it had heart-wrenching voice acting and an emotional musical score. I was wholeheartedly on Shulk's side, eager to make the Mechon pay for stealing someone I love so soon. Number 3! Wow, I haven't spoken about this game in a hot minute. It is one of the greatest JRPGs of all time, right up there with Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy IX, or some people say 6, but I'd say 9. Suikoden 2. I remember praising the first game and practically all the comments were like, now play Suikoden 2. So I was like, alright, let's see why people won't stop screaming at me to play this. Depending on which option you choose, shit hits the fan in the first 2 minutes of the game. But to really experience the full horror, I recommend you take the long route, which is going outside and talking to people. Before you get your first choice, you have the littlest of knowledge of where you are, what's going on, something about war and Nanami is your only family. It's strongly recommended you go outside where you learn you're part of the Unicorn Youth Brigade, a unit for young men to serve the proud country of Highland. A treaty is signed between Highland and the city-state, putting an end to this awful war. It's great that the Youth Brigade never made it to the front lines. Everyone is happy to go home. And as you travel eastward, you see some of your buddies on sentry duty, and one mentions they swear they saw something move in the night. Travel a bit farther, and you see a guard in the shadows wearing the same uniform as your comrades, and suddenly run off. Weird, but you guys are obviously on the same side. So, as you turn in, the cries of battle are heard outside your tent. And by the way, you'll miss everything I just described if you choose to go straight to bed. Anyways, you're caught in the midst of a surprise attack by the city-state. And after signing a peace treaty, your captain says to flee to the east to save yourself. Meanwhile, you pass your fellow army men, who moments ago were well, and now are gravely injured. Just as you're about to head down the eastern path, Jowie realizes this is the only exit from the mountains, and the enemy is probably lying in wait to ambush the runaways. He suggests telling the captain, and on your way back, those who were injured are now dead. And this is what sold me. I love retracing steps and seeing things that weren't as I left them. In fact, they're much worse. In that moment, I felt panic, fear, confusion. But don't worry, it gets worse when you discover that this entire attack was planned by the Kingdom of Highland, the kingdom you fought for. This was a ploy to keep the war going. It's here where you meet the epitome of evil, Luca Blight, who has planned on blaming the city-state for the attack. But knowing that Jowie and the protagonist Ryu still live, Luca and your captain twist the story and claim that you were part of the surprise attack and are deemed traitors of Highland. The entire opening was so effective. You got these group of kids excited to come home, but you know something bad is going to happen when you see the shadowy figure. But it subverts your expectations. It's not the enemy, but your own kingdom attacking you. And for what? Because Highland's prince is a psychopath? And how your compatriots rapidly deteriorated. They were healthy, injured, then dead in such a short amount of time. It was a very bitter and real taste of war. Before our leads escape, they vow to meet at a cliff should they get separated, which of course comes into play at the very end. Following our protagonist's escape, we're given a brief but effective flashback of our heroes growing up together, training together, being accepted into the brigade and sent off. Family and friends waving and cheering farewell. They leave to serve their country, only to be smeared as traitors. In under 15 minutes, you are pulled into the beginning flames of war, and from there, the story only gets crazier. Number 2. I love going into a game completely blind, absolutely knowing nothing. It just really hypes up the shock value when shit goes down. Now, I admit, I didn't have high hopes for this game. Y'all know me, I love my fantasy settings, and this was set in modern day, and with sci-fi no less. But within 5 minutes, I was floored. I was hooked. I could not put it down. I was like, what's going on? Parasite Eve, baby. You know it was coming. What better way to start a game than on a date with a man-child? Stupidly asking, aren't you glad you decided to go out with me? My dad's got the best seats. It's just radiating beta energy. So, you enter the opera house, and immediately a performance kicks off. Everything is pretty good until the lead singer starts singing, locking eyes with our protagonist, Aya Brea. Her co-stars spontaneously combust. Does she catch fire? No. Does she help those who catch fire? No. In fact, she continues singing. She's embodying the idea that the show must go on, and so it does. And it turns into a complete shit show as those in the audience begin to catch fire. They're falling over the balcony, and this woman is just belting. And when the chaos dies down, Aya ditches her lame date and pursues the songstress on stage. The vocalist and Aya have a confusing conversation. The woman in red talking about awakening and the cells trying to communicate. Aya has no idea what this wild woman is going on about, and you have a quick fight, and then the lady escapes. I freaking love this intro. I love getting right into it, and it's something that leaves an impression. I had no prior knowledge when I first booted this game up, so I didn't see this coming. There were thousands of things that could have happened. Someone was sneaking around the opera, maybe tiptoeing above the stage, someone in the audience caused a scene, something standard. Parasite Eve said no, we're gonna light this bitch on fire. And for the time, I think Parasite Eve has some of the best visuals. I distinctly remember my eyes widening as I watched in complete terror people falling around the singer. Soon after your pursuit, you're hit with another gruesomely brilliant scene. A rat mutating. It roars like a lion, its fangs grow, and its skin peels back, and it does such a marvelous job highlighting what you'll be facing. And I'm so happy it took a moment to really hammer in how gross and foul these mutations are, as the standard graphics don't do it justice. Parasite Eve came out of the gate swinging. I think it has one of the best hooks in all of the RPGs I've played. It firmly establishes a villain, with a healthy dose of mystery. If you need something to instantly draw someone's attention, look no further than Parasite Eve. Number 1. This made an impression on me because it confused me. This was a game, when I first played and beat it, I was like, I like this game. It's a good game. But then some time passed and I was researching and writing my script, and somehow I fell in love. I became obsessed. I was rewatching cutscenes, reliving my favorite moments, re-examining dialogue with newfound knowledge, and over time, this became one of my favorite JRPGs. Breath of Fire 3. I won't shut the fuck up about it. Okay, so why is Breath of Fire 3's opening personally memorable to me? There are 2 mine workers. They're going to the deepest depths to detonate some crystal. Encased is a small dragon. They blow up the crystal, the dragon awakens, and begins to attack. So, hopefully you're smarter than me, because I thought, despite playing Breath of Fire 1 and 2, turning into a dragon, I was the opposition. I was controlling the 2 workers. And when I was attacked by the dragon and the workers died so quickly, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm the dragon. I get to go around turning everyone into a burnt potato. How exciting. You're a baby dragon going around and murdering people. That's the opening of Breath of Fire 3. But it's okay because you're a cute baby dragon. And to be fair, they attack you first. Just when you're home free, something speaks to you and you get knocked out by a crane, taken somewhere probably to be sold. But creating enough ruckus, you're able to escape. And the next we see the baby dragon is, well, we don't. We see a young boy laid out naked, saved by our now Uncle Ray. After waking up from a strange dream, we're introduced to Tipo and properly Ray. They're a pair of thieving troublemakers, but they're just trying to get by. After some heroic deeds, they steal from a pompous rich man, which ends up biting them in the butt later, ultimately setting them on their path. I just really enjoyed the good old switcheroo in the beginning. It was a great opening, it didn't leave the players sitting bored long, and you got to go on a mini power trip. Breath of Fire 3 has a great hook that opens up into one of my all-time favorite adventures. So those are arguably my top 5 favorite RPG hooks. Honestly, I was gonna do an honorable mention, but I have so many. I feel like I can do a part 2 to this video, and I think I will. Someday. Don't expect it anytime soon. If you're looking for RPGs that will instantly snag your attention and are well worth the full playthrough, this is where I stand. Though I'm like a little ashamed I didn't put Nier in here. Part 2, baby, part 2. The redemption. As always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with my list? What would you add to this list? I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a lot of similarities that will make it in part 2. Or a real challenge here, tell me a game I haven't played that has an incredibly gripping beginning that I could play hopefully before my part 2 video, so I can include it in my part 2 video. And I want to specify RPGs because, believe it or not, my favorite opening in all of video games isn't an RPG. It's Sonic Adventure 2, baby! Let's go! City Escape all day, every day! The best opening to video games of all time. I mean, rolling around at the speed of sound. I love it! Anyways, look forward to part 2 in the distant future, and I will see you in the next video. Soodle! I was trying to say sayonara and toodles at the same time, so I got soodle. Soodle. That's my new ending now. Soodle. Good job. Thank you so much for watching. Top box are more videos like this, and then bottom box is Normal Boots Hardcore. Be sure to check it out. And of course, join the Patreon where you can vote on what top 5 topics I do next, join the Discord, and get stylish postcards. Thank you again for your support. Mwah!